welcome to the midweek edition of the Sportsline Podcast here on CHCH. Hey, we hope that we are becoming a regular part of your daily routine. I'm your host, Bubba O'Neil. Folks, the depth of talented athletes, coaches, broadcasters, and executives in the Golden Horseshoe, I say it time and time again, it's endless. Today, a hard worker that has enjoyed success in the classroom, on the gridiron, on the hardwood, and now the links. Well, leadership has come easy to this Hamiltonian, who's the pride of Barton's Secondary High School. If there was an opportunity to learn, Bryan Crawford has taken on the challenge. Nicknamed as the Crawdaddy from the one and only Michael Pinball Clements, a 7-season CFL career opened doors for a number of business opportunities with the CFL Players Association, OUA, Canada Basketball, and Golf Canada, which leads us to this.
Left the flag stick in with the maple leaf flag. Good pace. Are you serious? Oh my goodness! Glorious and free!
Canadian Open Tournament Director Bryan Crawford joins us on the Sportsline Podcast, and I'm looking at you right now, watching that moment, and you've got a smile from ear to ear.
Oh yeah, no, it was a magical moment, and not just in golf in Canada, but a magical sports moment in Canada to snap a 69-year drought. Where a Canadian hadn't won the RBC Canadian Open, and to have the opportunity to be part of it and have a front row seat, so to speak, is pretty special, and it makes me feel very lucky to have had the opportunity to be there and be part of it, just in a small way. I mean, listen, I didn't sink a putt, and I felt like I won, so it was awesome, and it couldn't be a better guy. Nick is just an absolutely fabulous guy, and his family's great, and really proud of him and the result that day.
Well, it was the ultimate mic drop moment, and I think, again, for Canadian golf, and no longer do sportscasters like myself have to ask that question about when will be the next Canadian to win the Canadian Open.
And exercise some demons, too, of Mike losing in a playoff years ago at Glen Abbey, and talk about a mic drop. I mean, we turned it into a logo. So
really?
We took his putter flip and turned it into a commemorative logo for the year, for the RBC Canadian Open logo, and the guys on the tour have affectionately started to call Nick the Logo as his nickname. So,
but just let me just check in with you. Is Adam Hadwin? Is his shoulder okay?
Adam's great. Listen, credit to Adam. He really leaned in to that moment and saw the humor in it. And Jessica, his wife, who is just absolutely hysterical. Follow on Twitter if you're looking for a good follow. She leaned into it as well. That was their Halloween costume, where she dressed up as Adam and he dressed up as the security guard. And, it was a great moment that really goes down in the history and lore of the tournament.
Bryan, how are you, bud? It's been a long time.
Yeah, doing well.
Good to see you. I'm really glad that you joined us. I mean, I think about when I first met you and the things that you've done in your career, and we outlined just a couple there. There's been so much and so much growth and what you have gone through, and in some ways you got to be certainly proud of what you've done, and there's so much, I guess, for you still to do. I guess that's, I think, the way we tend to generate our interest and keep us going. But, boy, take me back. I mean, okay, you're drafted in, I think, the fifth round in the CFL. You start to play for the Argonauts. Football, was that the dream original?
No, I mean, I was a hockey player originally. Grew up playing in the Hamilton AAA system, and we were the Huskies at one point in time, and then the Reps for a lot of that. And so, yeah, I grew up a hockey player up till kind of about grade 11. And I played across the street here from the studio for the McCoys, even one season in junior. So, it was hockey and baseball growing up, and kind of, hockey kind of got a little bit challenging for me, and just wasn't loving it anymore, and wanted to just play sports with my friends. And I went to a high school that had a great, football program, and I had run track for a number of years and such with the high school team and with a club team, HOC in Hamilton, and decided to just go for football. My father had been a football coach. I'd coached at Ancaster High School for years, kind of in the 80s. And one thing led to another. And at one point, a decade later, my wife's like, I think it's time to pack this football thing in, don't you think? But it was a tremendous journey. It took me to a great school at Queens, and somewhere where I don't think I had probably ever thought I would end up for university. And I met a lot of amazing people along the way, and it was a great start, in life to get the chance to do that for a living.
I talk to every football player that has come here on this couch, and they talk about the sport so glowingly and their days as a football player and the unity that you get, the brotherhood that you get, I guess, practicing and playing, the wins and losses. Can you get into depth about what that was like playing with the Argonauts for those years?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was really fortunate for, a majority of my time. We had very good teams, really, really good teams. It was kind of my final year in the league was our team was not great. So you do had, I did experience some of those challenges, but it is such a unique sport, in the team mentality of the sport. Like every player has a job to do and has an assignment, and there are no kind of individuals to the extent that there maybe are in other sports like basketball or something like that. Like, of course, great players can change games, but a quarterback's not completing touchdown passes if his offensive line isn't blocking for him, and so forth. So, this was a special moment to score. That was the game winner at the Labor Day Classic,
2008, buddy.
And that was pretty cool to do that at home. And I was called a lot of things down at Iverwin in those years, especially those who figured out that I was, a Hamiltonian playing for the hated Argos. But yeah, and when you retire, like that's the stuff you kind of miss the most is the locker room time, with the guys, the time on the road with the guys. Like, you don't miss training camp. I can tell you that. And training camp usually is the thing that leads most guys to be like, I'm not doing this another year. But
that's where the American players have problems with their visas.
Oh yeah, I'm not doing this again. But it's and it's tough. It's a tough challenge for any professional athlete, any athlete at any high level, that when their competitive playing career comes to an end, to transition away from that. And most of us that have the chance to play at a high level, have done it for a long time and in multiple sports for many of us. And so when that really does come to an end, there's a big hole and void for people to fill. And during my time in the Players Union, we spent a lot of time on trying to help with the transition of players to the next level. And we played in a league where you make a great living, no question about it. But you're not making the living that you can retire on for the rest of your life, so to speak. And I even would say that most guys that make that kind of money, that play in those sorts of leagues, none of them retire for good. They're too wired, to achieve things, and they're too driven to just flat out retire. So it's a tough transition for people. And I was fortunate that I think I did it about as well as you could have asked to have done it.
Well, you have to play to understand that, and you're right. I hear that time and time again from so many former players about your life is so regimented, playing sports, practice here, game day here, lift weights here, meetings here, video here, and then when that's all gone and no one's telling you what to do, basically, now what do I do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's actually also one of the reasons that, a student athlete, like a varsity student athlete, statistically do so well in school, because their time is regimented and because they don't have the time to waste. You can waste time really quickly and easily when it isn't as regimented, because you have other, you have teammates that are counting on you to be academically successful as well, and that you are naturally wired to be really driven and want to be successful. So, that's part of it. I think that's part of what helps, varsity and elite athletes become successful in all sorts of walks of life. Some of the guys and different athletes that I've worked with that are transitioning out, they also don't necessarily realize the skill sets that they have, the soft skills that they've learned and that are going to be incredibly valuable in any sort of profession, and that they can transition into other roles despite not necessarily having those specific experiences in a given field, but they are just so adaptable. So, I like I said, I got great advice, early on about my career and when I was thinking about it, and my wife was always really supportive, but also drove me to be thinking about those things. What was I going to do post football? It could end at any time. How are you going to set yourself up for the long term? And when I was thinking about what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go, Michael Pinball Clemens gave me the best advice. This is my second year or two, and I was thinking about, do I want to do graduate school? Do I want to, what kind of role would I want to have? What kind of job would I want to have post football? And he said, figure out what you love to do and make that a career. And that was like one of the most, striking, honest statements I think anyone had ever said. It was like, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And, I thought about it, and I didn't want to be a coach or a professional coach. I love coaching, and I coach several teams now, but, my kids and youth sports. But, sports business was it. I was really interested in that. I had started to work with the Players Union, and I was really interested in the business challenges and that being a way to be involved in sport. And I went out and found, reached out to some people in around the Hamilton area. Ward Dills, who was the executive director at OUA, which was a Hamilton based at the time. Therese Quigley at Mac, and had kind of informational interviews and others as well. And it turned into some job opportunities. And I decided to take one with the OUA and just kind of work as an assistant and coordinator type role. And I ended up doing that for 8 years in total, and 5 years during my playing career that I worked full-time for Ontario University Athletics as an administrator while playing football full-time. And that was a lot of work. It was a heavy load, but it allowed me to, when it was time to retire from the CFL, to essentially close the chapter on that and walk right into the next chapter. And I think it helped me advance my career, more quickly than it would have otherwise. And, to the people that were at the OUA ward and, board members and athletic directors of the other schools that also were very supportive of allowing me to, manage my time between those two commitments of football and the office. So, I have a lot of those sorts of people that helped you along the way, in addition to all those coaches, those administrators that helped me get started.
Well, probably a great example to so many people in that audience, in that office, that people that are seeing you execute both of those passions, we'll call it, of the business aspect of sport and executing sport in itself and the daily grinds of it all. Where did the Canada basketball come from?
Yeah, that's, my career path has been interesting in that I've ended up in a number of sports that I wasn't necessarily involved in prior. Working at the OUA was the best kind of training ground I could have asked for. 23 sports for men and women, 40 championships, 10,000 student athletes, like a big organization with such a diversity. And having the chance to work on all these different sports with all these different leaders within those sports, from the NSOs to the PSOs, coaches, and so forth. So I had been, as I said, 8 years working at the OUA, 3 years kind of in senior leadership there, including serving as the executive director for a period of time. So I had worked in basketball and hockey and football and all the sports. And I, through my work in basketball, kind of caught the attention of Michelle O'Keefe, who was the CEO at Canada Basketball at the time, and she was looking to backfill a position that she had left. She had moved into the CEO position and the president position, and added my name to a search list for a recruiting agency. And they called me up about the job, and it was intriguing at the time, and I wanted to, obviously learn more, and so I got involved in that process and found my way over to Canada Basketball, and I had a really fantastic 4 years I spent there. We built out a new business plan and a new hosting plan, and we hosted. They hadn't hosted many events, if at all, really, in a couple decades, and we hosted several dozen events over the course of those couple years. A FIBA U18 championship just down the road in St. Catharines, and senior men's qualifying and senior women's events, and all sorts of things. 3x3 basketball, and that was really great to build a strategy out from scratch together and really help put Canada basketball in a better position than it had been. It had traditionally, unfortunately, had financially struggled. The business was challenged, and I think we put it in a really good place, and they have run with that since then, and have started to build even more success that aligned with the success of the players that we'd already seen that happening at a player level. The men and the women were already achieving great results for a couple decades now, and we were able to align the business to better support their success, and subsequently it has just continued to grow and excel since then. So. Coming into the sport also, it was really beneficial. And I've also seen that in my current job that, I had a bit of a wider lens, a bit of a more holistic approach that was because I was from outside of the sport, that I would look at the challenges and relate them to other sports organizations, other businesses and companies to understand that, the challenges, they're people challenges, they're strategy challenges. They're not necessarily unique to that sport, and I think that served me very well, and has served the companies I've worked for well as well.
Well, and that's the thing now. So now you're right entrenched in Golf Canada right now, and in what very much like basketball, we're seeing more and more successful golfers coming from this country than we ever have. And that's kind of aligns with the basketball too. And I think that's got to be a proud thing for Golf Canada right now, that they're succeeding in all age groups and all genders as well.
Yeah, of course. Canada basketball, you really looked at the impact of Steve Nash and the Raptors and Vince Carter that drove a wave of basketball players. You look at the history of immigration, especially in this area in the GTA, that has driven the success. People that were coming from places that didn't necessarily, they were from places that played basketball and soccer and communities that were engaged in those sports. So I think that that helped drive that success, and then it just compounded, right? And programs develop, and the high performance program at Canada Basketball develops, and the Ontario Basketball Association develops, and more playing opportunities and high level playing opportunities and those sorts of things. So I think that was kind of indicative with all those factors. And golf's not dissimilar. The guys that are on tour now are from the Mike Weir tree. Mike Weir winning the Masters and being one of the most dominant golfers in the world. For people just remember the Masters, but he was one of the best players in the world for a 3-year period of time.
Absolutely.
When Tiger was at his peak powers, and Mike was one of the
beat him in Montreal.
2 or 3 best players.
Remember
exactly.
That?
So, that inspired a lot of guys, and I think helped Golf Canada progress, and I think the staff that's been in place in the last 10 years has just leaned into the programming and built more and more. And as you see, there's Canadian in the hunt basically every single week. Canadians winning on tour. Brooke is the most successful Canadian player of all time, and what she's done for the women's game, and all of that has just continued to build golf in this country. COVID was as unfortunate and it was certainly not ideal for those of us that run events, but it was a boon for golf and in this country, in participation, more and more people participating. And we've been able to launch programs that have just continued to expand, the number of people playing golf in this country. It's clear that, it's one of the most participated sports in this country, and it's not close. Millions of people that play golf in this country, millions of rounds every year that are played. We have more facilities per capita than anywhere else in the world.
Golf courses everywhere in Oakville, Burlington, Hamilton. It's
public
crazy.
And private municipal courses, and golf in all different ways. And so that's the great thing about our sport as well, is that it's also really the only sport that you play for life. You can start playing when you're a kid and you play all the way, and you shoot your age when you're 95. And there aren't any other sports that are like that. And that's what's pretty special about it. We've launched a campaign this year, Golf and Health, and really focusing on celebrating the benefits to your health of golf, mental and physical. And And that's the reality of the sport, that it just brings so much value to people's lives. And that's ultimately why, those of us that work in sport because it improves people's life and it improves our communities and ultimately the country as a whole. So we're proud to be part of it, proud to have seen a Canadian win the RBC Canadian Open last year. We're, proud to see them have success on the tours each year. And, we've set a pretty lofty goal to see, 30 Canadians on the PGA and LPGA tours by 2032 and continue to be the biggest source of professional golf talent in the world next to the U.S. The U.S. was the only country that won more PGA Tour tournaments last year than Canadians did. Mm-hmm. So,
wow, I didn't know that.
We're proud of that, and I think you see that across Canadian sports as a whole. Mm-hmm. Right, you see success. We've had record Olympic after record Olympics. I think Vancouver was a big launching point for that. And what they did with Van Ock and the Own the Podium program that was introduced to win the Olympics, and for us to, as a country, to transition to say, we're going to win. We want to win the Olympics. Like, Canada would never have said that before then. And I think that was a really bold decision by the COC and those that supported the programming. And ultimately it was successful, and it was successful in London, and it was successful in Brazil, and it's been successful, since then, each and every year. More and more team sports that have now found their way into the Olympic Games. You see both the men and women's basketball teams this year. You see the success of volleyball and rugby, and obviously the soccer program. Yeah, Shea here, Hamiltonian, right? He is one of the best players in the NBA. Led our team this past summer to a medal at the World Cup, and will be absolutely in the hunt for a medal at the Olympics. They play, the Canadian men play the U.S. men in a pre-tournament game in Vegas in the summer, and that will be can't miss TV to see our NBA players playing, what is a dream team or the dream team, and they will be in bucket for bucket. So
I would think so. I mean, and I think that's exciting for sports fans, not just basketball fans, but sports fans all around. Now, we talk about your present job right now as tournament director, and I'm going to ask you a wide question here, but it is kind of, I think, what a lot of people want to know. What does a tournament director do at the Canadian Open?
Yeah, it's interesting. Lots of people that don't necessarily, know the ins and outs of the event or the event business. Well, what do you do the rest of the year? I work on this golf tournament 365 days a year. We have a staff of 7 on the operations side that work on this tournament and our women's tournament. We have 5 in our sales team that just sell the tournament. We have 7 on the partnership side. We have 12 in marketing communications. All of these folks. Now, some of those departments do multiple things across Golf Canada and all the business streams that we have. But for me personally, it's overseeing overseeing what is essentially a small business, that has a multi-million-dollar budget. We have 130,000+ people attend, 2,300 volunteers. We build 200,000 square feet of hosting space. And
wow.
Grandstands, all those sorts of things. It's a construction project. It's a people management project. It's a stakeholder relations project. So, we have dozens of 28 partners, with RBC being the title, of course. We work with our host clubs like the Hamilton Golf Country Club, Oakdale Golf Country Club, St. George's Country Club that we hosted at in 2022. So you have a lot of stakeholders and a lot of people that are invested in it, and the planning that goes into delivering this 1 week takes the year. We're working on 25 and 26 already, and doing all those sorts of pieces. So it's just really about managing that, making sure that everybody is pointed in the same direction. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a shared common vision, and they understand their missions and mandates to deliver the event and why we're doing it. And right. And that's really what it's about. And I get to be creative every day and how we tackle challenges and solve problems and ideate to make the experience even better for all of the fans that and our clients that come.
Well, and Hamilton, I guess for the 7th time now, will host the Canadian Open, and it will be in your hometown at the Hamilton Golf and Country Club. And I think that's got to be something that you're proud about. And I guess there's been some course changes to the course since I guess 2019 was the last time when Rory McIlroy was the winner here. Talk to me about the challenge for this brand of golfers that will be coming up, and the field as well too.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is it is absolutely one of the very best courses in the country, and I think people in the Hamilton Golden Horseshoe area don't probably understand how great of a golf course it is. And it was great before, and they renovated it in 2020 and 2021. And it is absolutely world class. Some of the things that they did, they expanded all the greens, created more runoffs. They redid all of their bunkers, added tees, changed some of the contouring, a little bit of a return to the traditional Harry Colt design. A lot of golf courses have also kind of thinned out some of the trees and those sorts of things for better airflow and be able to see your golf course better than what had become really traditional Parkland style courses that were how were tree lined the whole way through. You couldn't see the other holes, that sort of thing. So most of those kind of northern traditional Parkland style courses have gone that direction. But they did a masterful job renovating that property. It was recognized as the best renovation of the year in the world by Golf Digest last year. So it's spectacular. It definitely is playing harder than it was playing before, certainly for members, and it will be for the professional players as well. So we're excited to be able to actually bring the PGA Tour back to this course and see it now in its new glory. And it's one of the best properties, not only inside the ropes, but outside the ropes for us too. It's a large property, 300 acres with the 3 nines and practice facility and large driving range, and really just has everything that we need. Every property is different and has its own challenges, and certainly this one has some challenges as well. But when it comes to all the ingredients you need to host a successful PGA Tour event, the Hamilton Golf Country Club definitely is one of them. And they're a membership that's been amazingly supportive of this championship. We're really part of our change and mold in 2019. We really changed the event from 18 to 19 when the date changed, and with RBC's investments and support, that it went to another level that year. And the Hamilton Golf Country Club was part of that. And part of helping us achieve that, and we've gone on a great run of success since then, and we'll have what we expect to be another record-breaking year this year back in Hamilton.
And you talk about the date change, and I guess the golfers right now, everyone's making their personal schedule, and I guess this is going to be kind of also like last year, tee up to the U.S. Open, I guess, for a lot of these golfers. Yeah,
we're attending where we fall in the schedule, so we're actually 1 week earlier than we've been the last couple years, at the end of May, beginning of June now. So we're kind of right in the thick of a really great time of the year for golf, with the RBC Canadian Open, followed by the Memorial Championship, which is Jack Nicklaus's event in Dublin, Ohio, U.S. Open, and then they head up to Travelers in Connecticut, and then off to the UK for the Scottish and the Open Championship as well. A little bit after that. So it's a great week of northern events and really historic championships as well, with ourselves, a Memorial and the U.S. Open, and Travelers is a great event in Connecticut. So that's kind of been part of as the schedule's grown and evolved and changed over the last number of years, and is still kind of an ongoing project for our friends at the PGA Tour. We love being at the beginning of the summer, beginning of the golf season. We're a kickoff to summer. We phrased it Summer's Open, a few years back, and this is when people are really getting back into golf here in the spring and summer, and kind of before school.
Everything's still green.
Everything is very, very green. And so, we kind of relish the opportunity to kick off summer, and that's what the event's all about too, is being outside and enjoying the weather and enjoying friends and great food. And, we launched our concert series back in 2019 that we've done every year since then, that we host on the Friday and Saturday night.
Well, we're going to get to that.
So I'll hold on that.
We're going to get to that.
But it's a shared experience for people, and I encourage people that aren't even necessarily golf fans that they're going to have a great day.
You got the Canadians involved. I'm presuming Nick will be back to defend his title.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Right? He'll be back, and you'll have guys like Mackenzie from Dundas here. They'll be looking to take that title from him as well too. And some of the best in the world will be here in Hamilton.
Of course. Rory McIlroy will be back to try to defend his title from Hamilton in 2019.
Yeah, I guess really.
So we've got the defending champ at this course and the defending champ from the year before. Rory winning back-to-back in two different courses was pretty unique as well in 2019, and then a couple years later after COVID in 22 to do it again. Of course, all of those Canadian players, you mentioned Mac and Corey Connors, of course, as well, and we'll have somewhere between 20 to 25 Canadians that will be in the field as a whole. We have a national qualifying system. That's a great thing about the Open. Literally any Canadian could qualify for the RBC Canadian Open, and that's what's special about it. It is a national championship. You have all those Canadians that'll be vying to try to be the next guy and get a streak going of Canadians winning. Rory McIlroy, as you mentioned, we have the great fortune of having Team RBC that represent the bank and are some of the best
loaded field.
Saïs Segala. Cam Young, of course, being another one, Sam Burns, and then we'll have some other really exciting players that we'll announce in the coming weeks that will all be in the field as well.
And it's turned into, and I've really noticed what you guys have done, and I think this is sport right now, is that there's the event, and then there's plus to difference to make a difference out there and say you're not just coming to see this, but you're also coming to see this. So let's just roll a tape of what else people are going to see other than golf. Well, you got a Waterdown native also involved as well, too. And Our Lady Peace, Josh Ross, as we're seeing here, they're going to be putting on a show, individual nights, and this has become really the core of the Canadian Open. And, you buy a ticket to see golf, you're also going to see some other entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole strategy was to make the event about more than just golf. Make it a sport and entertainment property that would engage with different audiences, expand golf to reach different people, different demographics. And that was the goal when we started that with RBC in 2019. And we're really fortunate to have SiriusXM Canada come on board and be a partner the last couple of years and be our presenting partner of the concert series this coming year. And it has opened up the tournament to people that wouldn't have come otherwise. And, can't tell you the number of stories I've heard about people that, came for the golf and stayed for the music, or people that came for the music but came early and saw the golf. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that the people that are coming to the event, we've had 15, 20,000 for a couple of different of our sets of our artists in the past that have been there, and the majority have all been there early in the afternoon and seen the event as a whole and realized that, wow, this is like an awesome party to be part of. And we've done some great things with a food initiative and our food partners and our beverage partners, and all of our other partners' activations and experiences that are on site, and really making it a great day for people to engage with. One of our partners, the Score Bet, has done some amazing things when it comes to activations. They did these seats in the sky, 150 feet in the sky back in 2022. They did this experience to play a golf hole right on site last year, and they've got a really cool idea coming this year that we'll announce in a few weeks' time. So we've got a whole bunch of things that partners are doing that are really exciting and different and unique, and that's really what it's about. Appeal to different audiences, appeal to as broad a spectrum as we possibly can, and introduce them to the sport of golf, and hopefully get them to engage in golf in different ways throughout the year as well. This year, we intentionally really leaned into the Canadiana with the defending champion Nick Taylor. We have an all-Canadian lineup for our music. And you mentioned Josh Ross, a local guy, and one of the hottest artist in Canada right now, just exploding on the country music scene, and we're really excited to have him as well as Our Lady Peace celebrating their 30th anniversary of Naveed, and one of the greatest selling Canadian rock bands of all time. I think they had 5 straight multi-platinum albums, and one of the most awarded Canadian acts of all time. So that's
I want to hear the hits.
No, they and 19 top 10 singles they had.
Wow.
19, unbelievable. So people are really excited about them, and we'll be announcing artists that'll be playing those nights with them as well in probably just about a week or so's time. So there'll be exciting additional acts that'll be taking the stage those nights, and some other special surprises that we've got to announce over the next couple of weeks as well. So the event's growing and getting bigger, and the demand has been there, and we've been lucky to receive the support from all sorts of different stakeholders and sectors to allow us to just continue to grow this in the right way.
It's a lot of teasing going on here by our tournament director.
Just a little bit of teasing.
Yeah, just a teasing here. Hey, one other thing that I think is just spectacular about this. Hey, the Waste Management Open on the PGA, they have developed this hole with a stadium-size par 3, and people, it's not even golf. It's like another world. People lose their minds. At times they get maybe a little too rowdy, but you've also modeled something that in one of your holes that I think fans will really, really appreciate.
Yeah, the WM Phoenix Open is an absolute spectacle, and I recommend it to anybody who is a sports fan that it is a bucket list sporting event. That you've got to get to at some point in your life. It's incredible what they've done there. I have very close colleagues down at WM Phoenix Open now, and have been to see the event. And we've taken some great things from them and tried to apply it to the Canadian Open in our own unique way that is authentic to what the RBC Canadian Open is all about, and what our national championship is all about. And what we've been growing is the rink hole, which you referenced earlier. And so this was a brilliant idea, that predates me, so I can't take any credit for the concept that. And it was part of celebrating Canada's 150th, where they themed one of the golf holes, a par 3, around hockey. Brought in rink boards, and Marshall Gallery Management were in referee jerseys, and there's Zamboni and goalie masks for tee blocks and all this sort of stuff. And it was really great at Glen Abbey and successful. And when we went to leave Glen Abbey, there was some thought about, does this continue on? Was it kind of just, a one-time thing? When I saw it for the first time, I was like, we got to double down on this. It's the challenge that we have moving around golf courses is we don't have the marquee hole like in Phoenix, or like in Ponte Vedra at the Players Championship with the Island Green, or when you're at the same golf course every year, which every event on tour outside of the majors that travel and outside of the BMW Championship is at the same golf course every single year. So we're really unique in that we travel around a rota. And so when you don't have that, that marquee hole every year, and that's not to say the golf courses don't, because every golf course has marquee holes, but they're not as notable because we're not there every single year.
Sure. The
rink hole really has become that marquee hole for us, and it's been on all different. It was on 16 at St. George's. It's been on 13. It's been on 14. It's been all different places. And at Hamilton, it's on number 13. And so we said, we got to kind of double down and grow this. And it every year has just grown and grown and grown. More partners that are activating on it and doing more things for general admission spectators, more hospitality clients on it. We've got a double-decker tent that's being built on it this year for the first time. So it's just gotten bigger and bigger. The broadcast has leaned into it. Colt and Amanda are on set right there on Sundays. The fans have embraced it, wearing their Canadiana gear and singing "O Canada" when the Canadians come onto the tee, and making it a fun environment. And the thing that I love about our Canadian fans is they understand golf in a way that that we could only really dream of them understanding it, because they know how to have a great time and make this the fun event that it's meant to be, while still respecting the traditions and the history and norm of golf. And so they know when to be quiet, they know when to make noise, and they know how to make it a great experience for everybody, the players and fans alike. So the rink has been, a real signature for the RBC Canadian Open over the last number of years, and we're really proud of it. And for those people that that were bold enough to say, yeah, let's put hockey boards around a golf hole and do that, the result has been probably beyond their wildest dreams.
And I think the best part about that too, because it might not work if the golfers didn't buy in too, right? Because they're laser focused, and yes, the crowds are maybe a little bit more on a particular hole, almost tiger-like, really, in some senses. But they are rowdy and they are having fun, and just enjoying the tournament. Hopefully it's a great day too, which I think amplifies it all. But the golfer has to buy into the atmosphere, and this may not be like every other hole on the golf course.
Absolutely. And I think that's, there's been more and more of that on the PGA Tour. I referenced the Island Green at TPC Sawgrass earlier, and players have bought into, these unique holes that are exciting and challenging for them and for the fans as well. And we've seen, some players want to get the crowd into it and they're comfortable. Some players aren't as comfortable, but that's what's important. In our Pro-Am days and early in the week, we see the players, they'll don the NHL jerseys of their hometown teams. And we do lots of things that are, tied to hockey, and they've leaned into it and understand that that's what is one of the things that is really special about our event, and bringing a little Canadiana to it, and leaning into what is part of our better nature is pretty special.
Well, if you're gonna walk around with a Vancouver Canucks jersey on, you're going to get booed.
Yeah,
that's just the reality of it for the most
maybe
part.
Not so much as the Habs jersey. And luckily a lot of the American players, they're wearing Predators jerseys, or they're wearing Florida Panthers jerseys, which I guess during the playoffs could be a bad idea. But a lot of those guys are from southern states, and they wear the ones where Leaf fans don't have as much vitriol for those teams as they do if they were wearing a Canadian,
no doubt,
or Bruins jersey or something.
Hey, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I mean, I'm amazed at when the crowds are going wild like that, and the things that come out of particular fans' mouths right after a drive or an approach shot. Like, to me, the one is mashed potatoes.
Baba Booey.
like, are you amazed by that? What fans come up with?
Yeah, I mean, some of it's really dumb. But every once in a while, and it was like this when I was in the CFL, and you'd stand on the sidelines, and you'd be standing there, and you got your back to the crowd, and most of the time you don't hear anything that is really being said directly. But on occasion you do hear the specifics, or you'd be standing there pretending not to listen, and then pretending not to laugh because what they did say was really funny. And it's a funny kind
Labor Day at Iverwin.
Oh yeah, Labor Day at Iverwin. They're chirping. Pinball was the greatest for engaging with the fans. Like, as much as if they tried to chirp, and they couldn't. Like, they couldn't do it. Like, he just was too engaging. And certainly I was in 2006 played with Ricky Williams that year, and there was a lot of really creative things that people did for
Ricky Williams.
Yeah, who was, by the way, like one of the best teammates. He was a fabulous teammate, hard worker, was great. Was great to spend a year with him and get to be friends. And he made an appearance. We went shopping at Limeridge Mall one afternoon.
There's Ricky Williams.
That's basically what happened about 45 minutes into it, and then it was like, it was announced over the PA or something. He was swarmed, and he's like, get out of here as fast as possible. I mean, he was arguably one of the most notable athletes in the world at the time.
Absolutely.
Just come on, the 60 Minutes thing, and he was pretty notable. But he was, like I said, I have nothing but great things to say about him as a teammate.
Let's ask you a question here, because you would understand this more than anyone else, and I think this is just what's going on with golf right now. Where are we? Or at least your opinions about what's going on with golf and the two leagues, and where we may go in the future, and I don't know your thoughts about that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's tough. I don't know. It's tough for me because I love golf, right? And I see some pluses with LIV, but I know PGA is the standard.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has created an environment that has been less than ideal for golf over the last 3 years, and our tournament's been kind of at the forefront of a lot of it. In 22, the first LIV event was the same weekend, and I think our event spoke for itself when people looked at what the product had to offer, and we were at the front of it again last year when they announced the framework agreement, and once again, the product kind of took over, and at the end of the day, it was about what was being done inside the ropes and the finish that we had, and so I was really proud to kind of be the standard bearer, those two moments. I have a role with the PGA Tour as the chair of the Tournament Advisory Council, and it's a council that represents all the tournaments to the PGA Tour, and so have been close to it over the last couple of years, and I'm in my role as the chair in the last year, or last several months anyways. But at the same time, also, are kind of like everybody else, wondering where it's going to go and how it's going to, ultimately play out. It has certainly created, massive change in upheaval across the golf landscape, and our the competition has been good to force us to improve and do things better and think differently about things, which we have been doing as a PGA Tour. There is no question that the PGA Tour is the premier golf league in the world. There are great players that play on other tours, but this is the collection of the best players. It has the most consistent pipeline of great new players. And they've worked very hard to do that. They've PGA Tour Americas with PGA Tour Canada that's part of that, and the Korn Ferry Tour and PGA Tour University and all those sorts of things that have developed those stars, the infrastructure of broadcast and media reach, and all of the pieces that help bring develop golfers and help bring them into the homes of people around the world kind of every week. The tour is going to continue to do those things. I'm hopeful, like everyone else, that we find a way that we can kind of all coexist and all work together and drive the sport of golf and inspire more people to join the sport and participate in the ways that there are to participate, whether it be recreationally for 18 or 9 holes or driving ranges or what have you, putting courses, those sorts of things. So that I think that ultimately there'll be a resolution and they'll find a way to make golf work and golf grow, because there's tons of opportunities for it here in North America and even more opportunities perhaps internationally as well. So like everyone, I'm eager to see us get to a place where we start to continue to move forward and spend more time working on making our product better and making the game better, and winning back some fans that have maybe been turned off of it being so much about the business of the sport in recent years. Yeah,
it's tough because I don't like seeing Rory put on the spot. I mean, he was this week. I mean, $850 million offer. Where'd that come from? But it's rumors, right? And
he's unequivocally said that he's going to play on the PGA Tour until he no longer plays professional golf. And Rory has been an unbelievable spokesperson for the game, and it's in some cases been, to his own detriment that he's had to carry that burden. But he has done it and done it willingly, and he is like an absolutely tremendous person. Does it for the right reasons, believes in the right things, is an incredible spokesperson. I've been so proud to have him be a spokesperson of our tournament as our past champion. And so, we're lucky to have a guy like that. I'm not someone who would ever begrudge any player who's decided to take another opportunity because they think it's the best one for their family, and that's their choice. I think what the PGA Tour has to offer, professional golfers, far exceeds what any other tour has to offer, and I think that we've proven that, and we've adjusted and grown and expanded and done the right things, and as I said, hopefully, there's a way that we can see all the best players, in the world playing together more often, and it's exciting when that's the case, right?
Well, there's no doubt about that, because I want to see Brooks and I want to see John Rahm, and I feel like they belong. And when we get these Masters and the other major championships, and it's like, okay, this is more normal. This is what I'm accustomed to.
And all players that have played at the RBC Canadian Open,
exactly.
Those are both those players and many others. players. They've all been at the RBC Canadian Open over the years, and many of them multiple years. And so we want to see all those guys. Have fans of golf around the world have an opportunity to see them play in tournaments that are meaningful. I think that's golf is about legacy. Professional golf is about legacy. Perhaps even more than almost any other professional sport. And our tournaments have history and heritage, and certainly the one that I get to be part of has more history and heritage than almost any tournament on the planet, with the exception of the U.S. Open and the Open Championship that are just a little bit older. Mm-hmm. And that means something. It means something that every great in golf has won the RBC Canadian Open, with the exception of Jack, who looks at it as his greatest failure was never winning the Canadian Open and being runner-up as many times as he was.
Glen Abbey.
Arnold Palmer's first win as a PGA Tour, first professional win at Weston. And, you mentioned John Rahm, his first professional start on the PGA Tour, as at the RBC Canadian Open, and many others, and that would Colin Morikawa and many others that are part of the history and heritage of our tournament, and that that means something, and it means something to be a system where you win your way along. And I think that's also what's unique about golf and what people love about the sport as well, that you've got to earn it every single week. It's not an easy job, not an easy job at all for these professional golfers week in and week out.
Well, we certainly appreciate what you're doing for this tournament, putting it into the upper stratospheres of the tournaments that can't be missed on the PGA Tour. We all care about the Canadian Open. It's a national open. And the fact that it's being held right here in our own backyard makes it even sweeter, because I know the events, as you said, the year that Rory won, the year that Jim Furyk won, I heard nothing but good things about the course and the way it was run from the golfers, and just interviewing them and just seeing the crowds. And I can't wait. It's a big date for you. I know lots of planning still yet to come. And we really appreciate you taking an hour out here to join us here on this podcast. And not only talk about the things with Golf Canada and the things you've accomplished, but the things that are just amazing, that set you up for where you are today too, because I certainly do remember number 40 on the football field wearing double blue and having those mixed feelings about you playing with the Toronto Argonauts. But Bryan Crawford, congratulations on all what you've put together, and continued success, and look forward to, you got a free pass for me, or at least a media pass for me?
I think we could work.
You hook me up? Right.
Absolutely, Bubba.
Thanks for joining us, Bryan.
Thank you for having me.
All right, folks, that's your Sportsline podcast for the day. And as you've just seen and heard, we love talking to sports, especially people that are making a difference in our area. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote, the Sportsline podcast do want to hear from you. Hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe button, and be sure to check out the other CHCH podcasts like Trending Now and News Makers with Louis Butko. For the talented people that make the Sportsline podcast possible, thank you so very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.